And we're live. Okay. Hello, crypto fellow travelers. This is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny. Sometimes Colorado. Good to see you. Decided to mix things up a little bit and schedule one in advance as opposed to doing it impromptu, and decided to also do it with a nice background. I like being outside in the kind of the commons area of the office from time to time. Hope everybody can hear me all right. Hope everybody can see me. Okay. It's been a long month already, and it's only the 7th, Sunday. I often work 5-6 days a week, more than 12 hours, 14 hours a day. But the last few months in particular have been quite difficult because there's just so many things that are moving on. As many of you know, Alonzo is approaching, and Alonzo's the big one. You know, there was Shelley was the big one as well. That was the defining characteristic of 2020. And the defining release of 2021 will be Alonzo, principally because this is the first time in the project history where we have full programmability. So suddenly you go from a collection of preset behaviors and activities, which although are quite useful, I mean, multi-asset, come on, that's nice, to metadata and these types of things. Now we're moving to a situation where you have full smart contracts. Holy moly. And we term the smart contract strategy for Cardano. Is the audio on? Everybody can hear me? Believe so. Hope so. Okay. So we termed the smart contract strategy for Cardano to be the ocean, the island, and the pond. And basically the concept there is that the pond is everything Ethereum did. The island is what we'd like to accomplish with Plutus and Marlowe and these domain-specific languages we've been constructing. And the island and the ocean, the island is all that stuff. And the ocean is all of the programming languages, the totality of development. There's over 20 million people write code for a living across the world. The vast majority of them do not write smart contract code. So it'd be nice to open up the world to them and bring them in. So when we started Cardano a long, long time ago, it was a big interest of ours to find a strategy, a path where we could cover the things that we felt were necessary for Fortune 500 companies in high assurance scenarios, be backward compatible, but then at the same time also be able to bring new people in, like JavaScript developers and Java developers and C# developers and so forth, because they are the majority of the world. We have made massive progress on that. And Alonzo is really where that wakes up. It brings Plutus and Marlowe support to the system, and it puts us in a position where it's quite straightforward for us to roll out the dev nets and get them wired onto Cardano and basically be in a beautiful position where you can write Ethereum code. So if you have bytecode or Solidity, use that whole development ecosystem, just move over and it's better, faster, cheaper. You'll be able to write code in the languages you want to, and you'll be able to write code in the new paradigm, the Plutus paradigm, and enjoy that along with native multi-asset and all these other cool features and functionality. So it's been a long road, and these next few months are pivotal ones. So towards the end of the month, we're probably going to announce the Plutus Pioneers program. And what that's about is basically identifying developers in our community who want to go through some special hands-on training to learn how to write Plutus code and really get excited about it. So likely it'll be a 4 to 6 week program for people who are selected. It'll run throughout April and a little bit into May. And Lars will teach it, and it'll be very intensive. And our hope is to train up 500 to 1,000 community members and get them fired up for learning how to run Plutus code, Marlowe code, and becoming kind of domain experts in the things that we do. So we'll, at the Cardano 360 episode at the end of the month, announce that, along with all the details and how to sign up if you're interested and how to apply. Lars is very, very smart and very fun to work with, but he is a German mathematician, so it's going to be quite rigorous. So beware and good luck on the challenge in that respect. You know, there's also a lot of cool things we're going to announce with Alpha Frontier. I'm going to reshoot the ocean, the island, and the pond video. I call it the part 2, where I kind of add in the missing pieces. And we'll also talk around the acidic concept. And that stands for developer acquisition, collaboration, incentives, application deployment, application interaction, and application curation. So both how do we get it out there and get people playing with it, to the how do we get it built and how do we get it paid for type of deal inside developers. So All that's going to be discussed in detail this month, and a lot of other cool things. Now, the subject of birds. Many of you like birds and birds and birds and birds. There are definitely a lot of birds in the air, and some of the ones that I wanted to land in February have gotten some headwinds, and obviously we're here in March and we're still waiting for them. And therein lies the frustration of when you run a large project with many agents and actors. Sometimes things happen that slow things down. And it is what it is. Over the long term, they don't particularly matter. You know, when the iPhone came out, didn't have 3G or an app store. Do you remember it that way? No. And did it matter? No. So patience does matter. And sometimes things take a little bit longer. You know, and I used to get deeply frustrated and angry about it. And I'd say, why did you lie to me? Or why did this happen? Or, you know, you promised at this date, or this was signed. Why are we now going back here? But, you know, it doesn't matter if it takes an extra week or an extra month or something like that. What matters is the progress that's made, and the momentum is in one particular direction. So I fully expect the things that we expected in February to be in March. And if not March, in April, but I think we have a good shot for March. So be a little bit more patient. And if you're not okay, why are you in crypto? It takes a long time to change the world. And we're not going to change it day by day, month by month. And I could not care less if you're in it for the money. If you are, this isn't your AMA and this isn't your guy. Go talk to somebody else. All the things we do systematically, methodically, and we do with a lot of soul and heart. And we care a lot. We wear our passion on our sleeves. You know, that's who we are as a community. And the other thing, the defining characteristic about this community is that there are it's not a Democrat or Republican or a left wing and a right wing or a conservative and liberal type of view. It's freedom versus authoritarianism. One of the things that unifies many of the core people in our ecosystem is the fact that we do recognize the world left to its own devices. There will be people floating around who think that they should run your life and be in charge of it from cradle to grave for your good and for the good of society. The point of cryptocurrencies and the point of blockchain technology is saying, maybe that's a bad philosophy. And every time we try to do it, it doesn't work out so well for any of us. So let's stop doing that where and when we can. That is really, if I could say, the philosophical core of what I started and where we're at as an ecosystem. I think the most important point, the most important thing. And as I look to legacy and I look to, well, where are we going over the next 5 years? We have been working harder than ever at trying to build a real blockchain government. We're not all crypto anarchists here. In fact, I think that philosophy is a road to nowhere because we've seen it with Bitcoin. We're actively working on the DCF. We're working with a major consultancy on it. We're trying to put a coalition of more than 30 companies together. I'm in negotiations to set up 10 research labs. I think probably on my side this year, we'll spend an additional $30 million of R&D money. And of course, when the time comes to announce that and who are the partners and the agenda and so forth, that's just on our side, the IOG side. And when you look at what we can do with you and Catalyst and where this can go, I imagine there's going to be great amplification there. So we're super excited about that. But what this is really all about in terms of legacy and these things is a complete fundamental change of people's relationship with the services that run their lives. All the things in your life, the credit cards in your pocket, the identity in your pocket, the driver's license, the passport, all of these things are given to you by social structures, conventions, and contracts you probably did not negotiate and had nothing to do with. Did you decide the credit score that dominates your life? Did you decide who gets an identity and who doesn't get an identity? Who gets a passport, who doesn't get a passport, whose passport gets revoked? Did you decide how the banking system works? No, but you're a victim of it or beneficiary of it or both. The point of crypto is, for the first time in your lives, you actually get to opt into something you decided and agreed to, a new social contract. That's not about money. It's about how you live, and it's about the quality of the money. You know, it wasn't too long ago that the minimum wage in the United States was 6 silver quarters. 6 silver quarters, about $1.50. The meltdown value of those quarters is about $15. Went from $1.50 to $15. We're talking about a higher minimum wage. Why? Because the money's lost its value for not fault of your own, not my fault, but from the people at the top. And they continue printing trillions and trillions of dollars. They continue following policies that are so devastating and damaging to society, and they don't care. I like peace. I like living in a country that gets along with everybody. Now, my country's bombing Syria again. I guess that's a good idea, according to the people in charge. Another war in the Middle East. We're here again. I'd like to believe that a legacy can be that we build a system that doesn't do this to people, that builds sound money, that promotes peace and understanding and goodwill amongst all people. But to get there, we have to build a government that's better than the one we inherited, better social contracts, and we have to work on ourselves. We have to be worthy of self-governance. We have to have a long time horizon. We have to think deep. We have to look deep into the future. You know, I was recently interviewed and I said, one of the economic solutions to the myopia that we all face is that we incentivize the wrong things as a society. I said, why don't we take a step back and instead of having a single currency, why don't we have two currencies? Today money and money 2140. How about that? So you earn today money just like you earn today money. Go to your job, do your work. Okay, great. And let's say that you can buy most things with today money, like food and water and so forth. But let's say you want to get a car, or let's say that you want to get a house or something. Let's say those have to be priced and not in today money, but in 2140 money. And how do you earn that? Let's imagine there's a copy of yourself who doesn't live today, but lives in 2140. And the only way that you can make 2140 money, the money of the future, is by making that person's life better. A person you'll never meet, and you'll be long dead by the time they're born. So what does that mean? You have to think about what the world needs to look like in 2150 and how to make that world better. And imagine a marketplace forming around for that. We'd have a lot of environmental policy. We'd care a lot about sustainability because we can't burn out the world. By the time it gets to 2140, it would be a dystopia. We'd care a lot about the future. And why? Because we're self-motivated and we'd like to spend 2140 money. That's the point of liberating yourself from the social structures and institutions and thinking patterns of the past. And the point of our entire industry. It's not to venerate a leader. It's not to believe that some person up on the mountaintop will deliver you and make you rich and make your life wonderful. The future is hard. It's ill-defined. It's filled with demagogues and tyrants and extremists and people soothsaying you solutions. And the reality is that the future only gets better if each and every one of us takes some custodial care and cleans it up together and thinks to 2140. And how do we make life better for that copy of ourselves that lives in the distant future? The point of cryptocurrencies and blockchain is for the first time in human history, this is not an academic exercise, and it's not one that requires permission. We're just going to go do it. So the coming weeks and months are going to be pretty crazy. Alonzo is going to be a lot of fun. There are a lot of announcements in the queue, and we'll get to them when the time comes. And sometimes they take a little later, but they're no less meaningful. And in the meantime, there's a lot of fun things we get to do together. For example, these AMAs, and I get to your questions. Second, we have our interview series. And I just started it, The People of IOG, where we had Dr. M. And I will be interviewing Duncan Coots and Phil Wadler and Dan Friedman and many other people within my company. And Tamara Hassan is going to start interviewing people as well, because if I was doing it at a rate of one a week, it would take me 6 years to get through the existing set of people. So we need a tag team and we need to get some volume there. I'd like you to know each and every person who works with me and for me. They're amazing, and they deserve their time in the spotlight too. And of course, I'd like to interact with all of you. So as this is an AMA, let us get to your questions, huh? Are you a real channel or a scammer? So how do you tell the difference between a real channel and a scammer is pretty simple. The scammer channels take my video and try to convince you to send ADA. If I'm asking you for ADA, it's a scammer channel. If I'm not, it's probably real. How's Freya? Very big, still pees on the rug. Are you working with Gavin Wood? He reached out to us, and we're still trying to figure out what would make sense. But I'd love to do something with Polkadot. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's good community, good ecosystem, great engineers. And as I said before, I think Polkadot is what Ethereum 2 should have been. Did Nick Szabo reply? No. And it's a shame he didn't, but that's his prerogative. As I said, Nick is a crypto OG, and he can just do whatever the heck he wants to do. And I'll always take him seriously and I'll always have time for him. Remember where you came from, and it is important that you honor those people. Charles, will you ever work with Haiti? We are looking at Carib ID and other programs, so it'd be a lot of fun to do that. Can you give me more insight about the talk in Africa? Well, there are many things going on in Africa. The particular thing that we're waiting for happens to be in the country of Ethiopia. And it was done until it wasn't done. And it's currently up for an independent review of a board of 3 people. And they're looking at it. They're going through it and reviewing every single document for the 7th time. I don't know why, but it is what it is. And unfortunately, that's just how people do business in these types of places. It's an inconvenience at the moment, and it's a delay at the moment, and it wasn't anticipated by either parties. What happens is that you have corruption, and then anti-corruption comes in. But the problem with anti-corruption is there are times that it can be overdone. And so a lot of bureaucracy gets added into the tendering process, and oversight gets added in, which doesn't actually prevent anything, but it massively slows down things, and it creates a lot of unnecessary bureaucratic friction. So what you do is you just smile and you keep working your way through it. And that's what we've been doing for now 3.5 months. And it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that things are going to be okay. I was given many assurances that we were at the end of the tunnel in February, many written assurances by our counterparty, and it didn't happen. So we're in March. You have to learn how to have patience. There's an old term for doing business in Africa. It's called Africa time. And that means things get done on their own time, but it's a deal that changed the lives of millions of people. And I understand why it's taking its fair share, because it's transformative. It's not just a one and done type of thing and say, oh, that's nice. This is something that can grow to the entire country at some point. And that's why we take it so seriously and they take it seriously. And, we're still acting in good faith. We're still building infrastructure, putting out lots of jobs. I think it's going to create over 30 jobs in the jurisdiction. And we'll see what happens. And it's going to be fun to announce it when it's finally there and it goes through that independent tender. Well, this is a good one. What will be the good consequences of Cardano in Africa? So Cardano in Africa, really what that's all about is this concept of people being self-sovereign and being in control of their own economic identity. I'm not a big fan of regressive policies like capital controls or the government having unilateral authority over the information that goes to its people, or making arbitrary decisions about who gets to make money and who doesn't get to make money. These are leftover policies of totalitarianism and dictatorships and communism from the 20th century. And they are, of course, pervasive in Eastern Europe and places in Africa, in Asia, and fortunately, even in the United States, people try to install this in certain places. And it can even be in your county. I live in Boulder County. Getting building permits for my own farm there is at times Kafkaesque. Takes 2 years to build anything. 2 years on a farm right at the edge of the county in the middle of nowhere. Why? I don't know. Just is what it is. Bureaucracy for the sake of bureaucracy. Even when you're trying to do things they want you to do, like, for example, build a solar system. I'm putting a 250 kilowatt solar array in. I thought we're all supposed to be environmentally friendly and anti-global warming and sustainable, right? So you figure that should be a relatively straightforward process. When a commercial installer who's installed megawatts and has a good rapport applies for it, no, it's going to take 9 months to clear the bureaucracy just for that, even when there's a state mandate to make it fast. So the point is that bad governments can destroy people's lives. They can either annoy them and be inconveniences all the way up to destroying your ability to do business with people. The reason why we are so keen on cryptocurrencies in Africa is it's a foundational thing. Once you've given people identity, then you can open up the prospect of reputation, trade, credit. You can then add in payment systems. You can then link that identity to property, and you can represent value and property in very fundamentally different ways than they had been represented before, which are fraud-free, which are immutable, which are time-stamped, and those records are global. So even if they're inconvenient to the regime that happens to be in power. So that's why we care so much about it. And it will take years to decades to see these systems roll out, but they are demanded. And what does that mean? Once they're out, it means I can send money to anyone in Africa for free or near free. It means that when they get that money, they will have the same level of protection and surety that I have when I put my money in a bank like Goldman Sachs or Chase or Wells Fargo or whatever, but they don't have to worry about it being stolen from them. It means if they have to flee, they can take their money, their property with them. It means that their credentials are verifiable. It means that I can enter into contracts with them as if they're my next door neighbor, even though they're 10,000 miles away. And it means that when they want to raise capital for an education, to build a business, to buy some infrastructure, to better themselves, the life around them, they have access to credit. And it means that when they want to protect those things with an insurance policy, there's always one available at a reasonable price. We take these things for granted living in the developed world, but they are not a given for the bottom 3 billion in the world who are underbanked or unbanked. What we have within our hands is a superpower, just like Norman Borlaug had a superpower being able to teach people how to grow crops correctly and use fertilizer correctly. And what that functionally meant was that he could save 1 billion lives. And by propagating this technology throughout Africa, I believe over the next 50 years, we can too. And not only save them, but make all of their lives significantly better. And by the way, it's not a savior complex. It's just good economic sense. You go where the puck is going to be, not where it is. And you say, where is the world going to have the highest amount of economic growth and the greatest amount of new billionaires over the next 30 years? It's not China. That was the last 30 years. It's not America. That was the 30 years before that. It's Africa. That's where all the economic growth is going to happen. And that's where the best and newest systems will be put into place. We're talking to a major telco right now about some things in the cryptocurrency space. And because they're new to the game, they have the most advanced network and they have the least legacy issues. It's when you have the opportunity to have a clean slate, it means that you often can generate a lot of hindsight wisdom and you can have the best infrastructure. And if you have the best wisdom and the best infrastructure, the youngest people who are the hungriest and they have access to the same playing field and information, they win. And if you're along with them when they win, you become the world's richest man. Just that simple. So I think it's the best economic opportunity, and I think it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot more fun, even though the tendering processes and other things sometimes take a long, long time, and there's lots of checks and balances. Who cares? You deal with it in Crimea River. It's a life experience that's once in a lifetime. Go do it, and go have fun with it. Do you see use for non-native tokens on Cardano? That is definitely possible, and it will be done with the DevNets, Yella and Ethereum DevNets. When you use them, you can issue ERC20, and basically the market's going to decide between the native multi-asset standard and the legacy ERC20 standard. You as a developer can use both. How can an AI researcher contribute to Cardano? Well, it depends on your background and where you're at, but it's a good question. So tell me a little bit more about yourself, and I can steer you in a particular area. Charles, what about Endor? It was supposed to be such a great project with so much potential and prediction as a service. Are you still in contact with them? So I joined as senior advisor, and I hung out with them for a little bit, and I flew out to Tel Aviv and we did some videos, and they called me up and said, we just can't afford you right now. I said, that's fine. So just suspend my contract. And when you guys are ready, call me back and I'll come back and we'll spend some time. I like your product. I'd love to see your product on Cardano. And they never called me back. So Yaniv is a good guy, and I really enjoyed Galia and the rest of the team. And one of these days, maybe I'll get that phone call. It's like waiting for Guffman, just waiting. How'd you piss off Coinbase? I don't know. I think it's less about that and more about explosive growth. It's a complex company. It's left hand doesn't quite know what the right hand is doing sometimes. And that's what happens when you grow rapidly and you're just about to IPO. Everything's a mess until about 2 years after the IPO. Would it be possible to create a system without transaction fees? Yes, you do it through what are called delegated fees. I think VeChain does something like that, where someone else can pay the transaction fee. Now, in general, there's always a transaction fee because there's a resource cost for a transaction. Someone has to pay that. You can either pay it with inflation, you can pay it on the producer side or the consumer side, but somebody in the value chain has to pay a transaction fee. But for certain contexts, it makes sense to subsidize transaction fees through some mechanism, and that could be inflation or fee delegation. And that's something we'd probably explore for Cardano 2025. This is a common misconception. IOTA doesn't have fees. Yeah, it does. They're just subsidized a different way. Guys, there's network capacity, CPU, and data. They cost money. Nothing is free. And if you have a blockchain or you have some notion of a database, you have some transaction ledger, someone must store it. So if you are issuing transactions, those transactions somewhere cost you something. Now, you, the sender, may not pay that, but somewhere in the value chain, it has to be paid for, or else you have perpetual motion. There's a universal conservation of cost and value in the universe. You cannot escape it with clever engineering. Charles, I believe you made a typo when you set your fees in the stake pool 10%. No, I did not. So RATS, R-A-T-S, is my stake pool. Love to see you guys delegate there. And I said ahead of time that I'd set it at 10%, and the fund is split between Sam Leathers and myself. Sam's going to be using it to buy some land, and I use it for shenanigans. So the more value I make, the more income I make with the pool, the more shenanigans I will spend it on. It could be wingsuiting. It could be walking near naked in Antarctica, climbing a mountain. It can be anything, but the amount of value I get, the more shenanigans you guys get. Also, it shows that small pools can survive with a higher fee and that people are not going to race to the bottom. So if I am successful, hopefully others with higher fees can be successful. And we can look at this as not a completely economic concern. Yeah, this is an out of there question. Charles, do you think dirt bikes are good for children? It depends where children grow up. Some people, my family and related families got their kids dirt bikes as young as 7 years old. And ATVs, those little battery-powered micro ATVs, which are death traps at 7 years old. And it seemed to work out for them. But, there are changing standards in society, and there are a lot of helicopter parents who think they should wrap their children in Nerf until they turn 20 and then still dominate their lives until they're 35 and then be there at the wedding night, make sure they get the job done. Life is tough. Kids are tough. Let them be kids. Country of Georgia news. Still doing Georgia stuff. I should have a full country strategy before the end of the month. We do the credential system, but I'd like to see that grow to a payment system and other such concerns. And we'll get that done. Charles, do you do any art or produce music or anything like that? I own a game development company. I haven't announced the exact name of it and the things that we do yet because I just haven't had the time. And the other thing is my brother and I are starting a biotech company, and my dad will probably join it in a bit. And that company is consuming the time that I had allocated for the game development company. So we do things like the 3JS development for the Cardano for the IOHK webpage, which will soon be the IOG page. And we're going to be hiring more web animators. So that's WebGL and Unity work, as well as 3JS and these types of libraries. And I just love that. There's also dynamic UI stuff that's really cool. So that's what we do on the IOHK, IOG side. Obviously, UX and FX, that types of stuff is going to be huge when I'm making video games, but that's a 2022 thing, unfortunately. I just don't have the time. When Rogan? Well, Joe Rogan after Gogan, and then also after Lex Friedman. So I'm having the Lex Friedman interview down in Austin. I'll see if I can have dinner with Joe Rogan while I'm down there, or Musk, or any of the other folks. There's a nice little intellectual dark web in Austin, Texas now. But we'll try to get it scheduled this year. It shouldn't be too hard. It's just more of a matter of making sure we have the right funnel, because you don't want to go into a show with that kind of a footprint and those many people unless you have the right marketing and brand set up. Any trouble with IOHK and the new national security laws in Hong Kong? Nope. Charles, where did you get your Pink Floyd poster? As most people do these days, online. Hi, Charles. I want to bring Cardano to Romania through a Haskell Plutus class at the Polytechnic University. Are you interested in this? You should reach out to Grigori Roshu, and we can definitely figure something out through him and Lars. Charles, will you partner with Celsius? Well, I know Alex Mashinsky. He's a great guy. We certainly have a lot of fun together. There's going to be something we eventually do with Alex and his guys. Just the extent is an interesting one, and how to roll that out. But that'd be fun. He also has the love of AMAs like I do. So anybody who does that, I appreciate and respect. Charles, couldn't the scammers on YouTube sell the stolen data and dump the price? No, they can sell it, but it's not going to dump the price. Guys, there's $5 billion a day of turnaround. Whatever these scammers have is not going to affect the price. Vaccinated? No, I'm ineligible for vaccine. I will not be eligible until at least April because of government incompetence, likely maybe even May at this current rate. And I've been asked a lot which vaccine to take, having reviewed the data for all 5 major platforms. For me, I think the safest is likely the Novavax vaccine. There's no DNA interaction, no RNA. It's just protein in a jar. And there's a very good history with that, especially for respiratory viruses and other such things. And so I'll probably get the Novavax vaccine when available. If not, the Johnson & Johnson looks pretty interesting, and it's a single-shot platform, so it's one and done, and the reactogenicity is quite low. So as soon as I get vaccinated, I'll let you guys know. And then you can say, Charles is no longer Charles anymore, and he's going to die of cancer, or now he's a slave of Bill Gates, and rah, rah, rah. I don't really care. Why would you get the vaccine anyway, being healthy? Well, unfortunately, no matter if I like to have it or not, I have to travel for the nature of my job, and it's probably going to be a prerequisite. And it's like when I went to Africa, I got the yellow fever vaccine. That's a much worse one to get than these. Thoughts on Harmony One? I have not looked at their core technology in a long time, but I think they're using something like Rapid Chain. They were also using fountain codes and other really clever things. It's actually a very good design, what they've rolled out. There's still some rough edges, but my exact quote was, at least if EOS had followed Harmony One, it would have been a novel and interesting project to follow. And I stand by that. I think there's some interesting stuff there, and it's a good team of people behind it. South Africa plans. Thoughts about VeChain? I'm a hardware engineer. Any good book recommendations on DeFi? Well, unfortunately, I don't have any for you. It's too new. But if you guys in the audience actually know of a good book that you'd recommend, I'm happy to read it and review it. I wish there was something. Ethiopian coffee. Did you guys know that the coffee they drink in Ethiopia is not as good as the coffee they export? So they have export grade and then the internal coffee. And the internal coffee is actually a lower quality standard than the export grade. So if you're drinking your 100% Ethiopian coffee here in America, it tastes better than the coffee you drink right now in Zimbabwe, which is a crazy thing. What happened to Cardano Rust? It's still around. Emergo maintains part of it, and then the Jormungandr is the closest thing we have to it. We rolled that team into the Catalyst team. Now, I didn't know this. Same for Colombia. Okay, interesting. I want to build NFTs on Cardano. Okay, so we have had several people who want to do NFTs reach out to us. There's some people internally in my organization that really want to do an NFT marketplace. And so what I'm going to try to do is play Bill Clinton, bring the people together. I feel your pain and bring them all together. So we'll see if we can bring the community members that want to do an NFT marketplace and have them partner with my internal resources and build an NFT marketplace rapidly. I'd like to get it done quickly and attach an external development firm to write a lot of code very quickly. And we'll initially do it as a NFT native multi-asset on Cardano, and then we'll take the centralized on-chain stuff and move as much as we can to centralized off-chain stuff and move as much as we can to an on-chain solution as soon as Plutus launches with Alonzo. So I'll have an update for you guys, probably not the next AMA but the AMA after, and certainly by the Cardano 360 episode at the end of the month. Come on, guys, give me some good questions here. We have our resident paint chip eater. Congratulations, Kubra. You are the winner of today's Paint Chip of the Year award. You'll be given a whole basket of paint chips to eat, and it'll continue helping you with that brain damage you suffer from. Proof of burn. I will never understand the stupidity. I will just never understand it, ever. And the fact that people still ask me after all this time. They're just not that bright. They must have hit their head on something. I don't know. Artano is actually one that reached out to us for the NFT marketplace, and I believe we have a meeting with them. So I think this upcoming week we're going to talk to them, and I'd love to see what they have roll into what we have, and maybe we can figure out something. Progress on Cal's 3 funds. The number of voters rise significantly so. Dor will give you guys all those numbers at the end of the month. It's pretty remarkable to see the progress we're making there. There was a snafu, I think, was Uroi voting, and that was a configuration issue, but it'll get solved. That's correct. Ada is a palindrome. What is your favorite vintage supercar, 80s or older? Probably the Shelby. You know, there's also the 1955 Ford T-Bird is pretty amazing. Are you left-handed? Yes, and that's the hand that spells an L. How do you read all these questions? I have a very special friend who broadcasts into my ears all the questions to select. We spend $9 million a week on this service. It's very expensive, but it's totally necessary for these AMAs to work. Do you take any holistic or nootropic substances to increase cognition? Well, lately I've been trying photobiomodulation. That's that weird ass headset with the thing that goes up my nose. Pretty interesting. But when I need a little bit of a boost, I take Alpha Brain. I also take Lion's Mane. Who's your favorite guitarist? Jimi Hendrix. Favorite watchmaker? Jaeger LeCoultre. And also Jacques Dro. Those gyroturbions are just incredible. And I love automaton. How would you explain UTXO to a 5-year-old? Cash register accounting. You have an input and an output. Change has to match. Do you believe in God? Well, as Einstein used to say, the God of Spinoza. Sure. Do you spend or save more? Well, there's deep saving, which are called irrevocable trusts. And then you have kind of slightly less deep saving, like 401ks and IRAs and these types of things. And then you have not so spending cash. So, estate planning is a big thing. And I'm thinking a lot about that lately, mostly because I see an email about functional patterns in your IOHK. I own a studio in California. If you're interested in this is an interesting one. I sent you an email about functional patterns to your IOHK email. I own a studio in California, and if you're interested in anti-aging, you have to check it out. I definitely will, and I'll actually probably refer you, Michael, to my brother, William, who will be my business partner here as of May in our anti-aging quest. Nice little side business. Any specific dates for smart contracts? We should have more specifics on a relative range that we think that Alonzo is going to hit, which is the full smart contract support, likely at the Cardano 360 at the end of this month. I always let the teams announce that. Charles, can you do your Skeletor laugh again? He-Man. Rah! So many comments. Mm-hmm. Eldar or Tau? Neither. Come on now. Space Marines. If I had to pick between the two, obviously Eldar. Come on. Them Farseers are sexy. What do you think about virtual reality? Do you have a headset? Microsoft announced yesterday Microsoft Mesh. We have 2 HoloLens 2s on the way. We're going to try it out. If it works, then we're going to go ahead and use Mesh for our executive meetings. And I'll send a HoloLens headset to each of the executives. And then it'll just be like Star Wars, where they had the holographic projections of each other in the chairs. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's a term for augmented reality. Virtual reality is really cool, and that technology has evolved enormously. We didn't quite get Magic Leap, but I think over the next 10, 20 years, it's going to get exponentially better. The headsets will get lighter, they'll be much more powerful, and they can do far more. And we'll also have haptic suits that you can put on and feel. So, yes, the Ready Player One is definitely on its way. Thoughts on the Ford GT? Do you own one? I do not have a Ford GT. I'm a Lamborghini man. What's up with Singularity Net? We'll bring Ben and his guys on at some point. Maybe Cardano 360 in the partners section. Be fun. They're just chipping away, doing stuff. Thundercats or Voltron? That's like asking which kid do you love more. I don't know. I mean, I love them both. But I'll tell you what, you could have made it a lot easier for me if you said Samurai Pizza Cats or Thundercats or Voltron. Obviously, Samurai Pizza Cats. Favorite Tarantino movie? Still the best is Pulp Fiction. Charles, what's your first destination after COVID? It depends on when I am allowed to travel again. Charles, have you ever had a near-death experience? Care to share? Yes, several. More than I care to share. Do you like mayonnaise with French fries? No, I'm not a weirdo. How will quantum computing affect Cardano? By the time it's a concern, we'll have already fixed it. We're going to have a full post-quantum agenda in the Cardano 2025 research agenda. You guys voted? I don't care about quantum computers anymore. Favorite fruit? Star fruit. Charles, have you ever looked into flat Earth? Yes, I have been to the EOS Reddit. Hi, Charles. This is a good question from Jim Robbins. Realistically, how far away are simplified wallet addresses are we? So, Jim, the key there is getting the identity center into Daedalus. And this is a great example of where an impatient CEO just sometimes can't get things done. 7.5 months ago, unified the Prism team with the Daedalus team. We still have not quite gotten where we need to get. It is one of the deepest frustrations I have. I'd like to see DIDs integrated into Daedalus as soon as humanly possible. Once you have a DID, you have a DID document. Once you have a DID document, you have a name associated with an identity. You have cryptographic credentials associated with that name. So you can sign a wallet, you can create a friend's wallet. They can sign it, and then all of a sudden you now send money to Alice. You now send money to Bob as opposed to a wallet address. Okay, it's like a friends list built right into your wallet. It's something I've been wanting for a damn long time. We're just backlogged. There are over 50 deals that we could do with Prism, and some that we've actually had to jump the queue because they're such large clients. The Prism team has more than 30 HR requests, 30 requisitions for new people. So that team is going to increase by a factor of 130%, I think, from its current standing. And that's just that team. And then on the Daedalus team, they're desperate for more people as well. So I definitely want that to happen. It's actually not hard to do. I know exactly how to do it well and put you guys in the driver's seat. And then when you talk about simplified wallet addresses, you're actually talking about sending money to a name instead of an address. Now, a way of shortening addresses, and I think there is a CIP standard I requested to be written for this, would be to take the first 4 digits post prefix and the last 4 digits and put an ellipsis between them. So you'd have the prefix plus 8 digits and the ellipsis to display. So that's, what is it? 8 plus 3 because 3 characters for the ellipsis, that's 11 plus the prefix size. So under 20, even for large prefixes. Under the Beck 32 standard, that's just beautiful. And it's very easy to display on both a mobile client and other client. So that's definitely something that I think we can easily do, and that does not require a substantive change to things. And frankly, 4 and 4, the probabilistic of a collision with that is so incredibly low that that's a good way of displaying the probability of a collision. NFT arts, GPS, virtual assistant connected to a blockchain, accessible to augmented reality glasses. What are your thoughts? It sounds to me like you got yourself a Catalyst idea there, son. Go to Catalyst. Charles, what kind of Lamborghini do you have? I have a Huracan, an LP610 Huracan, although that is getting upgraded to a new Evo. So that's going to be fun. Do DIDs harm anonymity or privacy in any way? If so, how? If they're used correctly, they don't. Because you can always create a DID for a particular use case, and it doesn't have to be linked back to a master DID. So you still have pseudonymity in the system. Charles, are you excited for 100% decentralization? I am so excited for that. I'm so excited. And that's happening March 31st. That's another one of the major things. When are we going to see dApps in your platform? Well, you're going to see a lot of proto dApps on the dev nets, and there's already people building that, and already people have now, it's like Singularity Net, who are moving over. And towards the end of the month, when we do the Cardano 360 episode, you're going to see this beautiful rollout strategy. And all throughout April and May and other months, like stuff is just going to be going so super quickly. So we'll have a very competitive showing at the launch, and then it's just going to pick up like a hockey stick because there's going to be so much demand to do stuff. Hi, Charles. Any thoughts on veganism and hurting animals for taste buds? That's like a religion. You can't really talk about veganism. I have a lot of vegans who email me and they say, you are inconsistent. How dare you torture these animals? You know, animals eat animals. It happens. Have you ever seen like nature shows? Not everybody's an herbivore. I'm not going to apologize for being a meat eater. Charles, which do you prefer inside your home, succulents or aquariums? Succulents, sir. Okay. Charles, which one is your favorite turtle? I assume, sir, Dario, that you're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and obviously it's Donatello. Do you meditate? Yes, I do. Or have any practice that sustains you? Meditation, download the Calm app. It's very nice. That's their free advertisement for the day. Favorite comedy? Comedy as in like movie or show, or favorite comedian? Favorite comedian is Dave Chappelle. Charles, what is the greatest lesson you've learned as a leader? Letting things go and having empathy. Those are the two most important things. And then I'd suppose the bonus round is elevate others. Let other people do their best work. Okay. All right. Well, now it is time for the end of the MA. As promised, we always do a microfinance loan. So let me share my screen. Okay. And there we go. Whee! And today we have 4 gals from Senegal, the Tuoba Tuol Group. Okay, established in 2010, this Bannock village is composed of 4 bold women who have known one another for many years and work in the same industries. Kodu, the group's representative, is the right one in the photo with her hand raised. I guess that's her, the one in the blue. Okay. And she is 49 years old, married, and has 2 sons, one of whom is in school. She fattens sheep and sells fresh fish at her village. She has 10 years of experience in the field and has no difficulty selling her products. With this loan, she will buy fresh cases of fresh fish and 6 sheep to fatten and later resell. She's going to use her profits to increase her savings with the Bannock village and help with her family expenses. Okay. Translated from French by a Kiva volunteer. Well, merci, merci, merci. And so far, they have already raised nearly $2,550, and they're looking for 400 to go. So as always, we finish it out. So we're going to give them all 400. Click lend now. Could not add 4. Oh, I guess somebody else did that. Okay, so we only have to do 375. Okay, and we always give a donation to Kiva. And here's what we're doing. We'll stop sharing the screen real quickly. And we'll just go through the checkout process. Almost through the checkout process. Continue. Check out. Okay, and let me go ahead and share the screen one more time. Looks like we're having a little bit of difficulty. The computer is frozen. Hopefully it comes back soon. Well, shit. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It looks like I lost the stream there for a second. I tried to share screen and it collapsed my browser. Okay, so let me share it one more time. As soon as I go ahead and reopen Kiva, and the loan was complete. Let's just verify that the loan got completed because my browser collapsed. Slight technical difficulties. Okay, all right, yeah, it looks good. So, share screen, entire screen. There we go. Okay, so right here, you can see so far, Rosa, Manana, Antonio, Sapik, and the Tuopa Tuol group. Senegal, Cambodia, Mexico, Peru, and Kenya. That's what we have so far, and about 2,900 total deposits. Anyway, as I've said many times before, my life's goal is to see something like Kiva running on Cardano. I know that we've gotten the platform right and we've done the things right should that occur, mostly because so much has to happen for that to happen. Peer-to-peer lending has to occur. You have to have a stable coin. You have to have proper cash in and cash out in those countries. You have to have an identity system. You have to have a payment system. You have to have enough liquidity in that type of a system. You have to have a large user population. You have to have great user experience and user interface.
I believe Cardano will get there, and it is one of my goals. And as we build out this year and we look to the next 5 years, that's one of my priorities. And I'd like to end every single one of these AMAs with a peer-to-peer loan at some point that I give to someone somewhere in the world who needs it. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. It was a lot of fun. It's a short one because I have another engagement I have to run into, but I did want to at least do something with you guys briefly. And I always enjoy these tremendously. A little muted today. Unfortunately, I've just been so busy and there's so many things going on, but I love talking to you and I enjoy you so much. All right. I'll see you soon. See you next week. Hopefully, great things on the horizon. I think there will be. Cheers.